all the problematic being of the HACE movement. Hello friends, if you don't know what the HACE movement is, it is health at every size. And in terms of me, my name is Jessica and I engage in conversations about weight loss, weight related disease education, and how to achieve weight loss in an affordable way that honors your way of living. And so going back to the HACE movement, there is certainly a lot of problems that the HACE movement has encountered in terms of the people that have been the biggest advocates. Some of them have passed to some of the HACE movement proponents are not well, and that at some point there is an amount of problem that causes that the HACE movement encounters as we go, as the BMI increases, and then we start acquiring all these illnesses. So before I begin, I do want to make sure that you're aware that I do like, there's certain aspects of the HACE movement that I do like. Certainly when I was little, I would have loved to have other people in the same sphere that actually embrace their bodies, and the body acceptance movement is very much rooted into the HACE movement. So there are 5 principles that I wanted to discuss. The one being weight inclusivity, meaning that, you know, from clothing to spaces and places, there should be an inclusion of people that are of larger bodies. Makes sense to a certain degree of reason, right? For example, I've heard a lot about the flights and a lot of about buildings or door frames. I find the seating reasonable. I don't know that I find anything else beyond that really unreasonable, especially to do with older buildings. We're not gonna design a whole new building just to accommodate larger size, and not because we don't want to, but because at some point the problem is of practicality. But that's the first principle. The second principle, it has to do with health enhancement. Absolutely, right? We want to make sure that that doctors, nurses like myself, and any healthcare practitioner, including nurse practitioners, are, doing the same care from the person that is obese to the person that is regular size, right? We don't want to automatically be pointing at, it must be, it's your weight, right? While it could be, we don't want to just isolate everything in one scope. Now, that goes closer related to the third principle, which is respectful care. So another thing that the HACE movement, the fourth principle, has to do with eating, and how do we make okay eating, specifically even related to this situation, right? How do we when I mean situation is you go to a restaurant, you can't assess how many calories there is now, because we're not in control of what's going outside and how we're getting all these high palatable foods. We're not in control of any of that. So how do we make all that okay? Because it is in our it's already in our society. We have to learn how to be and how to live with these things that are incorporated within us. So, and the last principle has to do with movement, moving your body in order to enjoy the movement and not for the sake of losing weight. Absolutely makes sense to me. So the reason why the HACE movement is problematic, it's to do with if bodies were stagnant, meaning that if for example I stayed at 220 pounds and stayed with it healthy within reason, right? If I didn't acquire high blood pressure and prediabetes, I could understand the health of every movement advocacy. But human beings do not stay stagnant. Our bodies do not stay stagnant. They either increase or decrease. What we typically observe is that the tendency or the odds or the statistics is that when you are in your 20s, you're able to eat a lot of the times. You're able to eat more because you're young and your body's young. But the young person and the older person they observe the same principles of calories in, calories out. I know that you've been sold, a thingy, but in really, if you think about it, if it's a faucet, if you're putting in more than you're actually burning, it has to be stored somewhere, right? So because of that, really, we have to think about years of accumulation that happens. A lot of the times we attribute things like age where we shouldn't. And this I say in the most compassionate way, because I was there. It is odds of the time, it's the bearing of all those years of addition of going of your intake being more than your out than what you are burning. And when you're 40s and 50s, it's not so easy because you're already 100 pounds later. I was not born heavy. I was regular size until I was 10, and then I started increasing but it gets to the point where you're 270 pounds or more because I did stop weighing myself at 270 because I couldn't. It wasn't, my brain was going to overload. So why I find it problematic is because bodies do not stay stationary. We gain or we lose, but we don't stay. Now I think that in essence, what the HAES movement, in my humble opinion, should move towards is weight maintenance. Now it's a little tricky because weight maintenance does mean that you do have to monitor what you eat. Because again, you cannot keep eating the same way that you do a la carte, right? You can't. We can definitely indulge here and there, but again, the 80-20 rule. Now, interestingly enough, I did, one of the things that I found was that in December, the Daily Mail did an article about 4 influencers that were proponents of the HAES movement, and they did pass away under the age of 45. There is a trend of saying that, for example, that our children are not going to live as long as Gen Xers, which is a travesty, really, and with this to do with the obesity epidemic. So part of what I hope to do is to make sure, or rather to send the word that we can lose weight, we can maintain weight by just engaging in just 2 little principles. 1, move your body every day. 2, watch what you eat in terms of not to the point where you're restrictive and just going on keto or whatever, is to really be in a calorie maintenance of calorie deficit. So those two principles should be applied to everyone in this planet in order for us to be able to and be able to be within a range where we observe health at every size. So I don't know if you guys remember, but I did a little video on how there was the tubs, and we had some tubs can carry 100 pounds, other tubs can carry 50 pounds, and we're the third tub who can carry very well to 150 pounds and still observe health. But are we all going to go through that teeter where we need to understand where our max is? No, we can't. We have to go into the sphere that where is predictable and safe for right, and that's where we really have to promote muscle building, not not weight, just weight losing for the sake of weight losing, and to be able to keep ourselves in a function that at the end of the day, in our old age, we take care of ourselves, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to die at 45. We want to live. So that's where the problem is. The HAES movement at some point has a problem with the fact that our bodies evolve and they start acquiring diseases. That's what the problem is. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you Monday. Have a good weekend.